everyone, my name is Amber and this is my review of The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. I can't promise this review is going to be any good because since finishing The Empire of Gold yesterday I've been a bit emotional and I've been unable to put my thoughts together properly, but I've made a list of things I want to talk about and it's 5 pages long, so hopefully I should be able to piece something together and tell you what I really thought of The Empire of Gold. I really needed to talk about this book with someone, so here I am talking to a camera. The Empire of Gold comes out in June, so this review is a little bit early, but I know that a lot of people have been reading their advanced readers copies, so hopefully there are some people out there who have read the book already. If not, there's not long to wait. So The Empire of Gold is the third book in the City of Brass trilogy, which is officially one of my all-time favourite trilogies. I will be spoiling the City of Brass and the Kingdom of Copper because I can't not talk about the events that happened in those, but I won't be spoiling The Empire of Gold apart from spoiling my feelings. So hopefully you will remember that in the Kingdom of Copper, Manager came along to Daevabad, basically destroyed the city, killed a bunch of people, and then Ali and Nahri fled, but not before Nahri put the ring onto Ali's finger. And then right at the end of the Kingdom of Copper, they both ended up in Cairo. So somehow they travelled from Daevabad, which is kind of in Afghanistan, over to Egypt. Unlike the Kingdom of Copper, there is no time jump between the second book and the third book. It picks up with Nahri and Ali being in Egypt and making their way over to Cairo, having accidentally fled Daevabad to escape Manager. Dara, meanwhile, is still in the city and is wreaking havoc as the djinn go into what is essentially lockdown. Muntadhir is imprisoned, Zainab is in hiding, and Jamshid is just vanished. He's gone missing. There's a lot going on with my favourite characters. Those are just a handful of my favourites. The others are doing various different things throughout the djinn magical worlds, but these are the ones I want to focus on. I'm not even sure where to start with my thoughts on this series, so I guess I'll do my usual plot, characters, writing style, world building structure. Okay, so the plot. So much happens. You've got the 3 point of view characters doing their own thing, mostly Nahri, Dara and Ali. I just loved how S.A. Chakraborty managed to split them up. Nahri and Ali were together for a lot of the book, probably the majority. They still had things to add to their separate storylines, which meant it was still kind of necessary to have both of their points of view, even though they were together experiencing the same thing, because they were experiencing it differently and they had a lot going on inside their own heads. I'm not going to lie, seeing Daevabad fall to Manager was soul destroying. I think as a reader throughout this trilogy you really get to know the city along with Nahri, and it kind of worms its way into your heart and you really fall in love with the djinn world, even though the government is not that great. Ghassan was awful and it's very corrupted, but the magical elements and stuff really get to you, and seeing things be destroyed like that was honestly heartbreaking because I had gotten so attached to this city and to the people in it. I think the plot moved along really nicely because Nahri and Ali were travelling a lot and they were also discovering more things about the world that they lived in. So the basic plot of this, which I haven't really explained, is Nahri and Ali trying to figure out whether or not they can save Daevabad, and Dara kind of destroying the city. I don't really want to say too much about his storyline because I feel like the more I talk about Daevabad and what's going on there, the more I could get into spoiler territory, and I really don't want to do that. So let's just say he's working with Manager as she kind of goes on a rampage and loses her mind and is working with the Ifrit and is killing people in the city and isn't really granting any mercy, which was awful and heartbreaking, and I'll probably talk about that a bit later on. Okay, so the characters. I have a lot to talk about with these guys. I'm going to start with Nahri because she is one of my favourite characters ever. She is an absolute boss. She's gone from being an orphaned con artist in Cairo, and oh my god, I'm tearing up already. Maybe I'm not ready to do this review. Okay, she has gone from being an orphaned con artist in Cairo to being a future queen in Daevabad, to then embracing both sides of herself. There's this one part of the book where she realises that she needs both parts of herself to pull herself through and to win. The part of herself that was a con artist in Cairo is just as important as part of her that was trying to be a future queen in Daevabad and was kind of being pulled into court politics and trying to be better for Ghassan and the rest of the Al-Qatanis. So basically fuck all the people who told her that she was just a street rat from Cairo, because sometimes that was exactly what she needed to be. We also saw Nahri open up a lot more, which was absolutely wonderful and lovely. At the beginning of the series she is very much working for herself and looking after herself because she's got absolutely no one apart from the pharmacist Yaqab. And then when she comes to Daevabad, obviously Dara ends up leaving her. Ali is part of the royal family who are basically imprisoning her and who are shitting on her people and threatening her all the bloody time. So she's always been one to fend for herself, but in this book you really see her start to slowly trust people, and she slowly stops lying to them and just lets them in, and she realises that there are people who will look after her and who want to look out for her, which she's never had before. If you can't tell by how emotional I'm getting, Nahri is one of my all-time favourite characters. I think she's amazing, very well developed. She starts starts off, as I said, being an orphan street rat, and she just grows and grows, and S.A. Chakraborty has done an incredible job with her character. I can honestly find no flaws there because Nahri is wonderful, and I need to stop talking now, otherwise I'm going to cry about her. Okay, and then we have Ali, who has never really been my favourite, so I can probably talk about him without crying. I've always really enjoyed his character, especially from the Kingdom of Copper onwards, because that's when I think he really goes through the most development and growth because of what happened to him at the end of the City of Brass when he was taken by the Married. In the Kingdom of Copper and the Empire of Gold, you see him grow more humble and more thoughtful, and his beliefs really get challenged. In the first book, the City of Brass, his way of thinking was, because he was so devout, his way was the right way. There was no other way to be or to think. It was all very linear. As the series progresses, he becomes more and more open to other ideas and more understanding and just more accepting of other people, which is really nice to read about. And I think eventually he realizes how his previous attitude towards other religions, other groups of people, really affected how people treated him, and then he slowly starts to realize that he needs to change that. I also really liked that eventually he stopped acting so irrationally and impulsively, because he was very much, at the start, he would get an idea into his head and then he'd just go and do it and basically fuck the consequences. But as the series progresses, and especially in the Empire of Gold, he starts to use his head a little bit more. In the Empire of Gold, he also spends a lot of time figuring out his feelings for Nahri, which I didn't really care for because I don't ship them. I don't really ship Nahri with anyone, but I think the Ali and Nahri shippers will be very happy. And honestly, even though I don't ship it, I didn't hate the way that their relationship kind of developed. I'm not going to say whether or not they got together or give you any spoilers, but there were definitely some underlying feelings there between the two of them, and you knew that from the Kingdom of Copper and the City of Brass, really. But in the Empire of Gold, that is when both characters kind of realise that there's something underlying there, and they try and figure out what to do with it and how they should approach those feelings. And I think S.A. Chakraborty did that really respectfully, and I think all kinds of shippers or non-shippers will really appreciate it. And then there's Dara, who is just fucking tragic. He spent the entirety of the series up to this point basically worshipping Nahri's family. Because he is their Ashin, he will do anything for them. He thinks that he has to obey, and that really all comes together in the Empire of Gold, because he is now following a somewhat crazy queen. He's following Manashe as she destroys the city, destroys people's lives, is working with actual demons, the very demons that enslaved her people, and he's doing that because it's been drilled into him that that is what he has to do. You kind of see him in the previous books in the series hating what he did, especially in the city that earned him his title, but you get a little bit of backstory on him in the Empire of Gold. It kind of flashes back to his memories of what happened and basically how he became what he has become today and what has led up to this. And it's basically because the Nahid family have corrupted him, and yes, in a way he did have his own agency and stuff. If your entire family and the family that you worship are telling you to do things, then that's going to get into your head a little bit. So anyway, in the Empire of Gold, just when you think that Dara is going to switch and realise what he's doing and is going to turn on Manashe, he goes and does something even worse, and it was honestly heartbreaking to read about. He is so loyal to that family and he does not know how to stop. I was honestly disgusted by some of the things that he did. It's definitely meant to be that way. You're not meant to sympathise with him, with what he did. It's not justified. None of it should have happened. But at the same time, there's also a small part of him that you hope will step up and change his course. And I think the author did this masterfully. I think she did an incredible job of building a character who's tragic and complex. Definitely not one that you want to root for, but one that you hope will get better. Honestly, the author has done an incredible job with developing these three characters, and I was not expecting that just from reading The City of Brass, but as the series has gone on, their development just gets more and more complex and better. She's given all three of them complex and distinct storylines and their own character growth. None of it is relying on other people. It's all about those characters, which I love. We got a lot of backstory in this book as well, not just with the three mains. We also got backstory with Manashe and Jamshid and various others. We also got to know Ali and Zainab's family a little bit better, which I really appreciated. So I'm really impressed with the way that the author brought everything together and managed to develop so many things at once, because this book is 750 pages and I think it could have been a lot longer because there were so many things that S.A. Chakraborty wanted to cover. With the 750 pages that she had, I think she did an incredible job with them, because we got to know just enough about the different characters' backstories. We got to know where Nahri came from, we got to know more about Dara and what led him on his path of destruction. We got to know a lot more about Ali and what's been going on with his family. I think the author is so incredibly talented, and honestly I will read anything that she writes in the future. And then there's my favourite character, Muntadhir, who I think could have been in this more. I really appreciated what we got of him, but honestly I will always want more of him and his character because I think he is so interesting. He's a future king who is hiding parts of himself because he's worried that society won't like it, and this society was kind of built up by his own family. I think having him in it more would have made this book even longer, and it's already 750 something pages. It's already quite long, but honestly I would not have cared. I think he's one of the characters who has a lot of potential for some short stories if the author ever wants to write those, just a suggestion, and I would definitely read them. And then we've got Muntadhir, who is the villain of the story. She's basically the Lord Voldemort. She's terrifying, but even though she is so terrifying and villainous, you kind of understand why. And I'm definitely not saying that the author was trying to redeem her or to make you feel sorry for her or to excuse the things that she does in this book, because she does some awful things. It's really dark and scary, but you do get it. You understand why she wants to take her city back and why she hates the Al-Qatani family. You understand why she is doing absolutely everything that she can to become queen and to look after her people. There is absolutely no redemption for her. S.A. Chakraborty, make sure you understand why she is the way that she is. And then there's the world building. So you thought you had a solid grip on the world building in this trilogy after the Kingdom of Copper, but let me tell you, you were wrong. There are things that are hinted at in previous books in the series, tiny minute things that were brought to light in the Empire of Gold, and they were touched upon and expanded. This world that the author has created is so vast and complex that the characters don't even know everything about it, and they're the ones living in it. I loved how the author brought back parts of the previous books. I would definitely recommend rereading the previous two books if you haven't already, or if you've got time, because you're going to want to remember even the smallest details, because so many things are relevant from the City of Brass or the Kingdom of Copper that you need to know about in the Empire of Gold. I think I'm definitely gonna have to reread the Empire of Gold as well in order to truly understand how things fit in, because towards the end of the book I was just kind of flying through it because I wanted to know what was happening in Daevabad, or to Daevabad. Even towards the end there was still so much world building to be discovered, and Ali was discovering things about his family that he didn't know before, and we were learning that things were a lot more complex than just the djinn. Like, the djinn was such a small part of this universe. There are so many more elements at play. So I love this book. I love this entire trilogy. I think the author did a fantastic job of wrapping it up, and while I would like to see more books, this was very much Nahri, Ali's and Dara's story all wrapped up into a trilogy. So if the author wants to do more in this world, I definitely wouldn't complain, but I think that those three characters have had a start, a middle and an ending, and the ending fit them all so well. Ultimately, I think the message to take away from this series is to show compassion. The villains in this series became villains because they stopped thinking about others. They ended up focusing on only the select lucky few instead of extending that compassion to others. So I think what the author is trying to say is, like Nahri, be compassionate, be kind, be inclusive and be understanding. I think it's a really beautiful message from a truly incredible series, and I'm so thankful that S.A. Chakraborty chose to share this book and series with the world, because it's definitely one that's going to stick with me for a long time, and I'm probably going to be rereading it at least once a year until I can't reread it anymore, because it's such an intricate series with so many things to unpack and with just a really lovely message that everyone can take away from it. So if you have made it this far through the review, thank you so much for watching. If you want to take anything away from this review, then know that I think that you should read this series, and I don't know how else to convince you, because it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's incredibly well put together, and I don't have enough adjectives in my vocabulary to describe it to you. So please just go and pick up this series if you haven't done already. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this series or on this book in particular. Let me know if you know of any similar books or book series that you think I should check out based on this review. Thank you for watching. I'll speak to you all in my next video. Bye.